Baker for our regular Friday time slot where we break down the Yahoo DFS slate. We have a 300 baller on Yahoo this week. We're going to get into some Awesomeo rankings, some projections. We're going to talk about the 5 highest implied total teams this week, and then we are going to build some lineup. We're going to build one cash lineup for you and one GPP lineup. So this week on Yahoo, we have a 300K baller. I'm just pulling it up here, getting the contest size for you. We have 33.3K entries. Starts at the usual time. No London game this week. Yahoo, if you haven't played there yet, you absolutely should be playing there. I have profit every single week in the NFL, which is more than I can say for any other site. So it is a great spot to play. You get a lot of new competition. So head on over and check it out. What's going on, Alex?
Not much, man.
Some construction going on over there?
I'm excited. Oh yeah, I forgot I was wearing my computer glasses here, but I took them off, so now I'm just a normal guy. Um, but man, I'm noticing you mentioned a lot of threes in this Yahoo baller today. I mean, 300K, 30K to first, 33,333 entries. Maybe we should look for some player names that have threes in them.
Or like TH or something. Like, yeah, I like this. There's got to be some sort of algorithm here that's gonna lead us to the right place. Yeah, he was trying to tell us something.
It's definitely a message they're sending through in the threes.
I like it. So what stands out to you about this slate other than being number 3?
Actually, I mean, I think it's a really good slate. Like they did a great job of pricing all the players, and I noticed that when I crunched my lineups, there wasn't any one player that was really showing up at a huge rate aside from Leonard Fournette, um, who just every week, man, I'm just landing on him.
I know, right?
Have you been running?
This year that we haven't played Leonard Fournette.
It hasn't been turning out that bad either.
No, he's been great. I don't know if you saw, but I'm ready to talk trade in our Yahoo charity league as well. You just lay it on me. If you get sick of Zeke Elliott, I'll fire Fournette your way.
At this point, man, I'd think about trading Zeke for Fournette.
All right, I like it. Yeah, so another great call by you last week, and this is why we trust your projections more than we trust, say, me randomly analyzing things and saying things like I like Ezekiel Elliott, because you were a lot lower on Ezekiel Elliott than most people, mainly due to usage and his work in the passing game, and that proved to be true. And if you pivoted off Elliott and went to Christian McCaffrey this week, you probably won, or last week, you probably won some of the monies. Of course, you needed a few other big players, which was in one of the craziest weeks we've ever seen in DFS. But there you go. So this is why I think, as a default, you should always trust your projections, right?
Definitely. I mean, the thing about my projections is if they sucked, I would lose thousands of dollars a day, playing daily fantasy. So I have I have a very strong incentive to make sure that these are world class because I'm out here in these contests with you guys and trying to make a buck at the end of the day. And how you do it is you have more accurate predictions than anyone else.
Absolutely, and we have the best in the industry. So head on over and sign up. As well, if you do check out Awesomeo, we have Emac writing his article every week, the Yahoo Dollar Baller article that highlights some of the top plays. In that article, which usually drops sometime this afternoon, you will see a link to go and check out Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, and you can get $30 in free YSRP points if you use the promo code Awesomeo. So just breaking down this slate, looking at it a little bit, I'm looking at your grades and values, and I think your initial point is correct there. That there's really not Yahoo did a really good job of pricing this slate in terms of not giving too much value away.
I think so. We are seeing some potential injury situations, so maybe some value will open up towards the end of the week. But actually, one of my favorite value plays this week is at the defense position, which that just kind of shows there aren't any running backs or wide receivers that are really cheap that you can go to for that salary saving. And what that means is that it'll be a really interesting spot where we can weigh a lot of different options against each other and not have to go to the odd and tate of the week where even though there's a pretty good chance they're a dud, you still gotta put them in because they're so cheap.
And that Bengals offense and those Tyler Boyd picks, we were pretty high on last week, that looked pretty bad up until about the fourth quarter when all of a sudden that Bengals offense broke out. So, that was a bit of a lifesaver. So let's dive into some of these games. We're going to start off with some of our higher total games. And let's start off with the highest total of the week, the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs, 55 implied total. Alex, what are you seeing here about this game? Is it priced up to the point where you're not getting much of it, and where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, you're paying top dollar for these guys. Patrick Mahomes, I believe he's the most expensive player on the slate by a good margin, $40. That's as high as they go on Yahoo, and I mean, he probably deserves it, but that's hard to find an edge just picking him. You're gonna have to find other players that are good values to kind of put around him. And Watson at 37, probably an overprice. He's been good, but I don't think he's quite as good as Mahomes. So he might be a pay up to be contrarian spot. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this line move as well in the Texans' favor as the week has progressed, and we also have Pat Mahomes dealing with that hobbled ankle, and we have Tyreek. We have Sammy Watkins with an injured quad, I think, or hamstring, and we have Tyreek Hill, who's questionable to return with his clavicle injury, I think. I'm just going to double check that and make sure I'm not completely off base. So there's a lot of question marks on this Chiefs side. So I do like where your head's at there. I mean, it's not like this Chiefs passing defense has been all that exceptional thus far. So I got no problem going here. One thing I did notice on the Chiefs side was that Travis Kelce was actually priced down a little bit this week.
That's pretty nice because, I mean, he's the best tight end in the league probably. It hasn't happened this year as much, 12.8 fantasy points per game. But we know that he's an excellent player on an excellent offense, and he's getting the looks. He's getting 8 to 10 targets every single week. He just hasn't gotten the touchdowns.
Exactly. So we have Kelce as an A for points and a C for value on Yahoo. Probably one of my favorite tight end options, but you're not getting a huge amount of savings, though. He is a little bit cheaper than last week. What about some of these other value options? We saw Will Fuller go off last week. Is this a recency bias fade for you, given that his price has also gone up about $8?
Yeah, I think that he might be worth a look, but $22 is quite expensive for him. Looks like he got bumped up in price a decent amount. And if he's not going to be contrarian, that really mitigates my interest. Last week, for context, he was only 14. Of course, I mean, he did have one of the most amazing games of the season, so we got to give him some credit here. But I'm just as willing to kind of fade that and let everyone else gamble on him.
I like it. So if some of these guys are banged up, if possibly Tyreek Hill doesn't go and Sammy Watkins doesn't go, are you interested in any of these cheap receivers? We have Byron Pringle, we have Robinson, we have Mecole Hardman. What are you going to do with these three, assuming that these other top options don't go for Kansas City?
Man, this is a tough one because we have no idea if Watkins is going to play. Hill, I think, is a little bit more likely to play. So we got to look at these guys because if one of these two is out, these guys are going to be relevant. I think the pecking order is probably the way they have it in the salaries, with Demarcus Robinson kind of being the best option. And then Mecole Hardman and Byron Pringle are about tied, kind of dart throws. I'll have to research this a little bit more because Watkins being out last week, it looked like Pringle kind of filled in for him. Watkins, of course, getting injured at the start of the game, and Pringle had the big game. So I'm not exactly sure how they do their rotation. I'll have to look at that some more if Watkins and Hill are out.
So the snap counts, it looks like Robinson took most of the offensive snaps, 92% share. So I think he's probably your best bet to stay on the field and run the most routes. Pringle actually, though, solidified a role for himself. 78% of the offensive snaps, 49 offensive snaps and second on the team in routes run among wide receivers. So I liked what I saw just visually out of Pringle. I think he actually looked like a player who belonged last week. That's obviously 1 week in a limited sample size, but I don't mind him if Tariq Hill is out at just $13.
I think I have to agree with you. I mean, he won people a bunch of money last week. That like tiny percentage of people that had him, he had a crazy game, and all of these guys have had good games. Demarcus Robinson, McCole Hardman, like what we're looking at. There's just so many mouths to feed. Like if you get the right one, you could win big. So it's worth taking some shots.
Absolutely. So this might be where ownership comes into play, or maybe you fade. You just have to think about the construction of your lineup as a whole. Just quickly, any thoughts on this running game? Is this basically a full-on timeshare? We also have a pass funnel defense here. The Houston Texans tend to have a better run defense than they do a pass defense. Full stay away from the Chiefs' backs.
I would be interested if they were like reasonably priced, but. With LaShawn McCoy getting most of the running attempts and Damian Williams getting most of the passing plays, that kind of makes them both pretty hard to get to if they're not like dirt cheap.
Absolutely. McCoy has not broken 60 yards yet since week 1 of the season. So, all right, let's move on to the next game of the slate. We have the Atlanta Falcons at the Arizona Cardinals. Second highest total on the slate. This has moved up a little bit. General thoughts on this one? Is this where the sharp DFS action is going this week?
Probably. I mean, Atlanta is always one of my favorite teams because they just throw the ball a ton and they got really good options to stack with your quarterback. And a matchup versus Arizona is about the dream matchup. They might not have to throw as much when expressed as a percentage of the time because they are favored in this game, which is unusual for them because they're a below average team. But Arizona plays up at the fastest pace in the league, and that total number of plays should bode well for any sort of production in this game.
Now, actually, if you can believe it, I was just looking up the pace stats. Arizona's now second in pace.
Oh, really?
By the LA Rams. I know, I was kind of shocked at that. Still pretty darn fast, though, about almost a full second faster than the next closest team, the Dolphins in third. So we're splitting hairs here. But it was interesting to see the Rams paced up so much there. So, yeah, we have Matt Ryan as an A for points and a B for value on Yahoo. Pretty darn good grade, pretty reasonable price. If you're going to Ryan, who are you pairing him with here? Because we have Julio Jones, we have Mohamed Sanu, who is shaping up as a really good value. We have Austin Hooper, who is $25, very expensive, but also the Cardinals have been absolutely atrocious versus tight ends this year. And then finally, we have Calvin Ridley, who may be primed for a bounce-back spot at low ownership because he's really done nothing this year.
The guys I'm getting to the most are the cheapies, Sanu and Ridley. 33 for Julio is pretty expensive. Not my favorite spend-up option in general because he's not on the field like the whole game usually, which is a knock against him compared to other people in that price range. Hooper just way priced up compared to the role he plays because of recent performance. So I think going down to Ridley and Sanu, kind of the value options, pairing him with an expensive quarterback with Matt Ryan, that makes your lineup look a little bit better to me.
That's a really interesting idea as well. So, like, how unique do you think you'll be if you have Ryan, Sanu, Ridley, and you fade Julio Jones? Is that just a great move for GPs generally?
I think, yeah, it will come a lot down to ownership because if most Ryan lineups have Julio, then maybe like going off to some other guys could be a benefit. But Julio, I'm not expecting him to be extremely popular given the price tag. I haven't checked our ownership, but
that's a good point as well. He's also got the questionable tag, and he finished third in snaps and routes run among these 3 last week. So,
yeah, that's pretty surprising for a guy that in previous years, played like almost every snap.
Absolutely. All right, I like where your head is at with that one, and I still think even though Julio doesn't get a lot of ownership in that matchup, though, like Ryan, Sanu, or Ridley stuff would be pretty contrarian, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting about 100 yards and total production on average with those two, so it makes a nice stack. If they get a little bit of a bump because of variance in their targets, then you could win a tournament for sure.
Awesome. Any love for the other side of this game? Kyler Murray, Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson. Any of these guys standing out to you?
I'll throw out one additional play from Atlanta first, which is Devonta Freeman. With the Falcons favored in this game, they should be able to run it a little bit more, and he's their lead back. He's cheap, only $17 on Yahoo, so I think he makes a nice play. Are you on the running game for Atlanta at all?
I mean, that's a really good value as well. I was just looking at some of these rush DVOA stats, and Atlanta has been, Arizona has been pretty weak against the run this season too. So it's not like they're really any better against the pass. Game script, I feel like they're also going overlooked after Devonta Freeman got off a pretty bad start. So I'm fully with you there at that price point.
Nice. As far as Arizona, I like them every week just because of the pace of play. I like the fact that they have some injuries. I guess when I phrase it that way, it sounds terrible, but I think that
I really like that a lot of players are injured.
yeah, Christian Kirk and Damian Bird may not play, so if they don't, I think that makes Larry Fitzgerald a clear, great option, and the other guys might not get enough value to really be in play for me, but they're kind of on my radar.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. We got about 5-10 minutes left here to talk about these other games. Third highest total of the week, the San Francisco 49ers at the Los Angeles Rams. San Francisco hobbled a little bit by injuries to their offensive line and possibly a cornerback, kind of like the Rams here, paced up matchup. But we also have Brandon Cooks questionable. What are you seeing in this one? Anything standing out to you?
I think that Cooper Kupp looks pretty expensive at 28, so this might be a situation where pivoting down to Cooks and Woods, who are much cheaper, they kind of have incorporated that difference in roles, so I think that makes a lot of sense to me. But I like the Ram stack on a weekly basis because they have all the production concentrated in those three guys, so it makes it a little bit easier to build a lineup.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which of Kupp, Woods, and Cooks are you thinking this week?
Well, I think that if Brandon Cooks is out, we have him for $19. I don't know what's going to happen with his status yet, so we could see a situation where Josh Reynolds steps in. Gerald Everett priced up a little bit at $15. That could be an interesting fade because he seems to be getting a lot of the hype, though he has looked great so far this season. But I'm right there with you. I think Woods is probably one of the better values at wide receiver on this slate at $18. He's fifth in the NFL in targets, if you can believe that, ahead of Julio Jones. So he's getting a lot of work in this offense, running a lot of routes, and they may push him outside and move him around a little bit more than he has and get him out of that slot if that transpires that Cooks is out. So I like Woods a lot, probably my favorite play. I'll take the $12 in savings on Jared Goff, though it looks like we do have them pretty close together.
I like it. I think that just a lot of people are going to look at these fantasy point totals. Kupp averaging 19 a game, Cooks 10, and Woods 11. Mm-hmm. So if you're just going off that, you're going to pick Kupp, right? But we know that Cooks and Woods are better than they've shown this year, so that makes sense to buy low.
Yeah, absolutely. Any love for anything on the San Francisco side?
I'm pretty intrigued by San Francisco. I think that Kittle is always a top tight end. 22 seems like a good price for him. As far as the wide receivers, it's pretty hard to pin them down. The most expensive one's only $16 though, so I could see taking some stabs. I think that Marquise Goodwin maybe your best bet, but I mean, I feel pretty iffy about that. How are you feeling about the?
Yeah, it's pretty gross right now with San Francisco. We saw them on the showdown slate, and it was just like staring at these wide receivers. It was so hard to get a feel for who was actually going to go off. It looked like Deebo Samuel was going to take over that number one role, but that did not transpire. So snap percentage-wise, we don't have anyone above 65%. I mean, Marquise Goodwin is probably your best bet just because he can break off a 40-yarder at any time with his speed. And the 49ers may have to, in fact, pass to stay in this one. So I'm right there with you, but I think Kittle's probably the safe option. I think he's probably – he's underachieved to this point this year, but the price is a little bit down as well. So he had a 96% offensive snap and the most routes run on the entire team last week. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Give me some Kittle. One final thought there, I forgot to mention. Any interest in Todd Gurley? No, even though he's sat out practice this week and is nursing an injury, quad injury.
22 is pretty reasonable for Gurley. I don't have him projected that well because the matchup isn't that optimal for the Rams. They have a team total of 27, which is a little bit lower than the previous weeks. And he is in a little bit of a timeshare, but I still think a reasonable play, not really jumping off the page. It does appear that maybe he's trending towards not playing, though. So if he doesn't play, then that makes Malcolm Brown really interesting.
What do we got for Malcolm Brown here? What's the price point?
$10.
Oh my God! So that is even more of a lock than the old Wayne Gallman week 2 weeks ago. Okay, it's like a super duper lock. So
yeah, this is way better than John Hill, man. I'll tell you that.
Captain spot John Hillman. Yeah, I know that was a tough beat yesterday, but the price was right. Absolutely. Did you? How did he end up doing? Because you had him, or did you play? Do you play many Monday to Thursdays?
Dude, I plugged him in one of my season-long leagues. he got like 4 points for me. That was better than my other guy who was on a bye.
And if you're playing some Yahoo season long, I just grabbed Malcolm Brown on the waiver wire the other day, so he might still be on there. You might want to go double check. He was only available in one of 5 leagues, but still worth a shot. All right. Let's go to our final. Let's just do one more game. Talk about the 5th highest total on this slate is in London, Tampa, Carolina. Not on this slate. Baltimore at Cincinnati at Baltimore. Baltimore favored by 11, 48-point total. I feel like this one may be going a little bit under the radar, but what say you, Alex?
Man, Cincinnati has looked horrible. Like they were the chalk last week, and I guess they kind of had some garbage time production, but yet again, they disappointed. But I think that I'm still buying at least Tyler Boyd, $20. I think that's a pretty nice price. I think Auden Tate, his price rate went up a lot to 17. Last week, I think he was 10. So I think it's more in line with where he should be. But do you dare to go back to the well here?
I don't know. Like, they have looked so bad. So Tyler Boyd, $20 is definitely appealing just because his target share is so high and he's such a safe bet. I kind of like him in cash plays as well. And I don't really think like people are scared off of this Ravens defense, partly because of their history and their name. But I'm not so sure that this Ravens defense is actually any good. Auden Tate up to $17. I think that's probably a stay away for me. So I think that if you're going to stack this one, or if you're going to stack the Cincinnati side of this one, you should probably game stack it. That's my take, because I doubt this Cincinnati defense is going to be able to contain Baltimore. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, one of my favorite plays in DFS this year has been Mark Andrews. He's been really good on the Ravens, and he fills a position that's a little bit harder to fill. And Marquise Brown would be the other guy to go to. I'm not as high on Mark Ingram. His price is 27, and this guy barely gets any work in the passing game because Lamar Jackson scrambles if it comes down to it. So I'm going to be playing the wideouts or the receivers for Baltimore probably over running backs.
I like that, and we might get a discount here. So Cincinnati, 29th in DVOA against wide receiver 1s, 28th against wide receiver 2s, 30th against running backs, 31st against tight ends. So you can attack this team multiple ways. If you're going to take that Baltimore passing offense, you're probably going to want to bring it back with someone like Boyd, Mixon maybe. I don't know. Mixon's actually pretty cheap as well. Nice. And then Marquise Brown looks like I just read that he's a true game time decision, but we probably won't know about his status at $19 until game time. Is there anyone else that you like here? Would you go to a Miles Boykin or a Willie Snead, someone like that, to pair up in a double stack? Of course, we've seen the single stack work with my money with just Lamar Jackson to Mark Andrews. So
that's right. I think Willie Snead would be my third choice. If Marquise Brown is out, then he becomes a little bit more interesting. But he, if he's in, like, not really a high enough projection to be considered for fantasy, in my opinion. But I know he did help should my money win it a couple weeks ago because Willie Snead caught a garbage time touchdown, so that if you're playing for something crazy to happen, I guess he'd be in play.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, you said you're not in on Mark Ingram, $27. That's a little bit too pricey, I think, for sure. But what about Joe Mixon? Just $10 less. He seems to be getting more and more incorporated into this offense as the season goes on, and his injury is behind him.
Yeah, I was kind of worried at first because Giovanni Bernard got that contract extension, and that was really an endorsement of his abilities. But Joe Mixon seems to be getting about 2/3 of the work, and that's pretty good if he's cheap. It's not the greatest team, but he's $17, so I can see it.
All right. This brings us to the halfway point in our show. Alex, can you tell us a little bit about some of the products we have over at Awesomeo.com and why people should come sign up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Awesomeo.com, we really started this site so people would have a way that they can win at DFS without making it a full-time job. Because there's so many different places you can go out there and get advice, but these may not be guys who really know how to win at the games. And since me and the other guys on the team, we've been playing DFS for years and we know how to do it. So we have the tools you need, the projections, the ownership. We have the video and written content to help you analyze the slate. We have the top stacks, which helps you understand the probabilities behind how often something will happen. And using all these pro-level tools, you'll be able to develop a strategy to win at these games.
Awesome. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a huge help, especially that new stacks tool that we have. It just helps you identify where some of these stacks are going under-owned and over-owned, and then you can use one of these under-owned or underappreciated stacks on the slate and then pair them up with some value. It's a great way to go. So many different ways as well. We've got a active Slack chat community that's super helpful. Everyone kind of in there giving the latest information. And a new thing this week, we have Adam Pfeiffer, who rates our weekly matchup column, is going to be doing a live before lock question and answer in our premium Slack. So he knows just about everything there is to know about football and can help you out with any of your DFS related football questions. All right, let's build some lineups.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cash game first.
Yeah, the cash game should be interesting. Who do you think you're going to in cash games here?
Okay, well, let me just pull up your rankings here. Give me 1 second. I feel like I lost the teams. There we go. So, what are we starting with here? We start with quarterback normally.
Well, I think quarterback may be a little bit more difficult this week to pick out the option. So
we can slot in our boy Leonard Fournette at $25, right?
Yeah, I think that Jacksonville's actually favored in this game versus the Saints. I never expected to see the day, but they're really buying in that Gardner Minshew, yeah. They believe in the swag, and Fournette's been getting it done too. He's cheap for his role. I like it.
I'm right there with you. I'm all over Fournette this week as well. The New Orleans defense has not been as run funnel or as great against the run this year as well. So that's something to consider. Normally it was terrible cornerbacks, great run D. This year they're both kind of middle of the pack. So small sample size, but there you go. A little bit better matchup for you. And Fournette's just getting all the snaps. Third in the NFL in snap counts this year among running backs. Just far too cheap here. So right there with you. Number 2, are we going with your boy Devonta Freeman?
I like it. Yeah, that's a good idea because Atlanta in a great matchup this week, and he's dirt cheap.
Yeah, so we haven't really seen much from Devonta Freeman thus far this season. Are you at all worried about him losing some touches to Ito Smith? He hasn't had more than 16 rushing attempts, but a lot of that is balanced out in the passing game, where he gets a minimum of 4 to 5 targets every game.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta just hasn't performed very well this year. They've been playing from behind most games, so it hasn't been the great game script for Devonta Freeman. But this could be easily one of the better matchups of the year.
Awesome. I'm buying in. I'm going to Atlanta one last time here.
If they don't do it this week, they might fall in the Cincinnati category, I have to admit.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. We're going to wide receiver?
I got a defense for you, man. Like usually I don't fill in defense, but there's one that is jumping off the page at me, man. Can you guess what it is?
Yes, I can. Is it the Denver Broncos?
Yeah. I mean, dude, $10 for against Marcus Mariota. Like, how did they come up with that price?
Whoa! Marcus Mariota hasn't even thrown a pick this year, man. We're looking at a new Marcus Mariota.
Oh man, I forgot, man. I'm buying Tennessee to win the Super Bowl.
No, I like that play a lot. Much more home this year, the Denver Broncos defense, but there's still some talent there, and you've got Vic Fangio as your head coach. Like that's probably a pretty good recipe for some success down the road. No Bradley Chubb, obviously, but give me the home matchup against a pretty mediocre offense on a really cheap price. I think you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, and I mean Joe Flacco will dominate the time of possession here. So.
All right, so we got $24 left per player. How about we slot in a tight end?
All right, that's it.
So I think we're probably leaning towards something like Kittle, Andrews, or Kelsey. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's tough, man. Austin Hooper, $1 less than Kelsey. Like, you think we should go for the savings there?
It is a good matchup, but I'll take Travis Kelsey.
That seems like a better play.
I feel like we can always pop out Kelsey and put in Kittle if we need to. We need $4 there.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Where are we going next?
All right, let's try to put in some wideouts because we need 3 of them.
Okay.
So I think we can go for one guy at the high end, one guy at middle end, probably. So high end, we got Julio versus Arizona, Tyreek Hill versus Houston, Michael Thomas. Are you looking at any of these guys?
Yeah, I don't really have any hot takes on them. I feel like Chris Godwin's probably the best value on the slate at just $26. That seems to be a pretty good price point, but I think there's not a ton between a lot of these guys, right? It's Tyler Lockett as well. Like, man, some good values here.
Yeah,
or values, I should say.
Well, one guy that I forgot to mention was DJ Moore. So he's only.
You know what though?
Oh wait, that's not the slate.
Yeah, I keep doing that. I wrote up DJ Moore in my column, and I was like, oh, here we go, DJ Moore. And
is that the Tampa game? So we don't. Oh no.
So we don't get it. It's
Oh, that's the okay, yeah. There is a slate on Yahoo with that game.
Oh.
But that's why I'm getting confused. Is because I had that set on Fantasy Crusher.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad. So no Chris Godwin. We got Devonta Adams nursing an injury. We got Julio Jones nursing an injury. Both priced up. I'm guessing that our best values here is going to be Amari Cooper, but that's probably maybe a little risky for cash. Who you looking at here?
I like your call of Tyler Lockett at 24. I mean, that gives you a little bit of savings from some of the other guys, and he's been good this season. Cleveland should be a good matchup, or they'll have to put up points to win. So.
Yeah, absolutely. This game has some sneaky shootout potential, I think. Maybe people getting back on the Baker Mayfield bandwagon after watching him just absolutely collapse. So give me some sneaky Odell Baker shares and GPPs for sure.
Nice.
All right, so we've got a total of $24 left. Should we get a quarterback?
Yeah, I think that might make it easier. So, for cash, I probably wouldn't spend up on these top guys. At least Mahomes at $40. And that really limits what you can do at the other spots.
I think like the really obvious choice here, just because of the rushing upside, and that's Kyler Murray, $26.
Nice, man. I like that.
Yeah.
Good matchup versus Atlanta.
Rushing for the first time in his career, seems to be getting more and more comfortable scrambling and getting into the pocket, maybe some designed runs there. And Atlanta has not been good against opposing quarterbacks this year. So I'm all about the Kyler Murray this week.
I like it. All right, wideout. We got 2 wideouts and a flex here.
Beauty.
One guy I'm looking to is Larry Fitzgerald. You have to scroll down a while to get to him, but $19 versus Arizona or versus Atlanta. I mean, we don't love the quarterback wide receiver stack in cash, but he is one of my top plays on wide receiver.
Absolutely, and it's such a safe floor as well. So because he just gets such great target volume, he has a high reception rate. He's going to get catches, so you're kind of it's a great floor play with some upside on occasion as well, right?
Yeah, and I think this is based on Christian Kirk probably not playing, but it
Right.
seems like he is back at practice. So I'll have to update that.
So, I'm also like pro Robert Woods at $18. I
Yeah,
feel like that's a pretty good price.
definitely.
Pop him in there.
So we got $35 left.
That's a lot.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott versus the Jets. What do you think about that?
You're the Zeke Elliott whisperer, man. I defer to you on all matters Ezekiel Elliott from now on.
Well, he's not the greatest value because he is 33, but he is probably my top guy of these options. So I'd be happy to put him in there.
Dallas 7-point favorites. Maybe a little positive game script there. Maybe we see the Zeke Elliott of old this week for the first time. There you go. There's your cash lineup. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think we're gonna win some head-to-heads here.
All right, I'm popping it in GPP and we're saving it for later and putting it up in some head-to-heads.
All right. So GPPs, you were saying that you like this Seattle-Cleveland game. I dig it.
Don't quote me on that, but go ahead.
All right. So do you want to get a game stack of this?
Let's do it. So, I mean, are you taking the savings? Are we taking like the 1% ownership on Baker Mayfield here?
Yeah, I think so, man. Because dude, Vegas is buying into these Browns, putting them as only a 1-point dog to Seattle, 46 over under. So that means they're gonna put up on average, 22 points? That's not bad.
Not bad at all. Absolutely. I feel like as well we're getting Seattle traveling cross country on the road. We've seen them in the past, it's not as good. And as you said, Vegas kind of buying into the Browns in a rebound spot here. I mean, like we tend to overreact in NFL when we see something like what we saw last week. So hopefully they can get their pass protection issues sorted, and they're not going to be facing a team as good as my San Francisco 49ers. So I'm assuming we're popping him in with another rebound, Odell Beckham Jr., or
let's do it.
Bringing it back with a little Tyler Lockett.
Makes sense to me, man.
Now, are we double stacking this?
We could. So we could go to Landry. He had a pretty good game last week. Let me see here. That would be pretty much our option unless we want to go down to Rashard Higgins or something.
I'm A-okay with going with Landry here. 100% offensive snap share, led the team in routes run last week. So he's just got a safe floor and seems to be Baker's security blanket. So I feel like if he's going to go off, it's probably going to happen with these two receivers, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they both have a game this weekend, then Baker Mayfield is going to have his best career fantasy performance, and that could win you a GPP.
Oh, man, I love it. I love where our head's at here. All right, so we got Beckham, we got Lockett, and we got Landry. We've got a pretty solid-looking game stack here, and about $19. I'm assuming we're popping in the Denver Broncos?
Sure. I think that'll give us some savings that we desperately need.
Absolutely. Running back, we're popping in Lenny Fournette?
Yep, let's do it. And all right, so we got $21 left per player. Let's go to tight end, get someone a little bit cheaper.
Who are you liking as a value play this week?
So I'm seeing, I'm getting to a lot of the top end guys, honestly, but actually maybe
we could always find value elsewhere.
Yeah, let's go for Kittle this time. I think that he's probably a top play this week.
Awesome. Still got $20 left over. We can find ourselves a cheap running back. Some options: Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, $22.
Austin Eckler, 22. Man, that's pretty appealing,
isn't it?
Well,
also,
why don't we just
James Conner, $24. Looks like he's going to be getting a workhorse role with Jalen Samuels out.
Another option. Well, I think Eckler Mixon fits perfectly, and that could be our lineup right here.
Still getting tons and tons of work in the passing game. 16 targets last game, 15 receptions. So
So we have $2 left. One area I think we could do is we could try to get a more contrarian defense, maybe, because Denver is surely going to be like super popular.
Hey, I'm missing. Who's in our flex spot?
Joe Mixon.
Mixon. All right.
So, I mean, Pittsburgh is on their third quarterback. So, what do you think about this Chargers, Z?
Oh, I love it. Pairing him up with Eckler, just like old school defense days, defense back days. I'm a big fan of the Chargers D here. At home, bounce back spot. This should be one of the better units in the league. So, fire up some Chargers for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, I look forward to splitting this 30K with you and all our viewers here.
I'm gonna pivot off the Chargers. Right, y'all. All right, we got another GPP lineup in there.
Yeah, let's make another one here. Let's pick another game. What about this Washington-Miami game? What do you think about this?
Wow, I was not expecting that on this show. So we have a 42 total, though.
That's not that inspiring. Case Keenum is back.
What's that?
Case Keenum is back, so maybe Washington could be a good play.
Yep, that's true. Adrian Peterson as well. Apparently, he had the best workout of his old career of the season or something. Maybe we have a positive game script. Your boy Chris Thompson, $16. I don't know, man.
I'm sensing that you're not very excited about this game. Let's go to a different one.
Hey, man, if you know something I don't, you let me know. It's maybe this is Brock Osweiler 2.0. So I'm guessing this Houston KC game is just too expensive to stack.
Well, let's try it, because I mean this will surely be like one of the best games of the week. Do you think you'd go with Mahomes or Watson?
I mean, I think Mahomes is going to shape up as possibly the contrarian play here, just because of the price point and because of his injury. So I would probably pay up the extra $3 for Watson, but
I like that because Watson had the big game last week. It's Will Fuller, so I'm hoping to avoid Will Fuller if I can, and not having Watson makes that easy.
Absolutely. So I think then we would probably logically pair him up with Travis Kelce, given the status of some of these other receivers.
Yeah, I don't want to lock in my lineup now and have Tyreek Hill ruled out.
Absolutely. What about bringing it back with DeAndre Hopkins in a bounce back spot, or Kiki Kute, who's only $10, filling it out with some of these cheaper options?
I think that let's see, is Kenny Stills back in the mix? So that kind of rules out Kuti for me.
He's questionable right now. I would assume that he practiced on Thursday, so I would assume that he's back. Which, yeah, you're right. Probably going to split snaps again, or take most of those.
I don't mind Hopkins at all. I mean, he's a great player, and it's going to be hard to build a lineup like this because we've spent so much already. But let's try to make it work.
All right, let's do it. It'll be challenging. So, do you want to pop in a second receiving option? Like, let's just say Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill are out. Do you go down to $18 Demarcus Robinson or $13 Byron Pringle?
Pringle is kind of appealing with Watkins out. Hardman. Let me see how I have these guys.
Yeah, so we got Hardman at $12, Pringle at $13. I'm not getting very good grades from you this week, but that could also be just sort of dependent on whether or not we think Watkins and Hill are going to play, right? They'll probably become much better values if those two are out.
Yeah, I mean, if Watkins plays and Hill plays, like, I don't think that Pringle will even see the field. I mean, I could be wrong, but...
Unless he gets injured again. But
yeah. So
in a situation like this with a high game total and like so much up in the air, do you tend to, like, if you're crunching a large number of lineups or if you're building a large number of lineups, do you have some backups ready to go? Like, how do you approach this?
So I think the easy answer is just building it when you know all the information on Sunday. But in the absence of that, maybe I would put in Tyreek Hill. I'm more confident that he'll play, but I guess this is game time decision for him as well. He's super expensive though, so
could be a contrarian play though.
That's true. Well, maybe we put him in there and see if we can even like build a lineup.
We got $13 left, so why don't we try it? See what happens.
All right. So we're gonna have to really dig deep here.
I like it. Let's challenge ourselves. So we got. I'm assuming we're gonna pop in the Denver Broncos D here.
Okay.
Unless wait for it. Miami. No, $12 this week. We don't get the $5 discount.
Oh man, that would have been pretty sweet if we got Miami D for $5.
Right? Okay, so Broncos D, so that gives us $13 left over. We are going to have to find a $10 wide receiver, I think, more than anything, right?
Yes, I have to agree with you there. Damian Bird, $11. So like, if he plays, that could work. Trey Quinn.
Antonio Callaway.
I don't have much confidence he'll like play that much with Rashard Higgins back.
What happened to your boy Marquise Lee?
Oh man, don't remind me about him. That was my biggest bust in season long because I thought he was way healthier than he actually was.
Yeah, it's tough. It's so tough to. What about Keyshawn Johnson as well? Let's take a look at.
He's only $10. That's a great price for him. I think Keyshawn Johnson would be my play then.
Or Trent. Yeah, Keyshawn Johnson, 73 offensive snaps last week, 95%, led all Arizona receivers in routes run and snaps.
I like that.
Fire up some of that. I think this is the Keyshawn Johnson breakout game right there.
This is great, man. We have $15 left per player. That's like, we can really splurge.
We can get two pretty good running backs here, right?
Yeah. I think Devonta Freeman fits pretty well.
Yep. Let's do Devonta Freeman. $17.
What about Kenyon Drake? I mean, this is the best matchup Miami's had so far.
I was just gonna say that.
Nice.
You've got like some built-in pass catching ability there, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Do you think he's got enough upside?
Yeah, I mean, Miami has stunk every single game, and this week they're not gonna stink quite as bad on average. So that means Drake should have his best week yet, if all goes according to plan.
All right, we got $13 left over.
All right.
Oh look, we got Duke Johnson, we got Byron Pringle. We could fill out our full game stacks here.
Yeah, Duke Johnson's kind of interesting. I don't think anyone will really be on him.
So 1 target, 2 targets, 2 targets, 0 targets in his last 4 games.
Ouch.
Just not a very integral part of this offense so far. That's my only concern with him.
That's a reasonable concern. Yeah, you're not going to get it done as a pass catching running back with 2 targets.
My only concern is his total lack of involvement in the offense.
What
about Willie Snead if Marquise Brown is out?
Yeah.
Meh.
That's a big if. I don't want to lock in my lineup now with that.
That's fair. Okay, well, I'm going to throw some options out here because we've got a few minutes left. And you tell me if you've got any thoughts on any of these bargain players, all right? Okay. Number 1, A.J. Brown, Tennessee at Denver.
I have some interest. I think that he just isn't on the field quite as much as I would like, but he's had some big plays. He's my second favorite Tennessee Titans receiver.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Pittsburgh receiver Deontay Johnson?
That is interesting. I mean, Delvin Hodges is starting, so that is a big downgrade to the Pittsburgh receivers, but Deontay Johnson, the price, he's replaced Dante Moncrief as the number 2 receiver, so I think that he makes sense.
All right, let's throw him in as a possibility. Okay. Looking for some more. Miles Boykin, $10.
Baltimore's got a pretty big rotation, so they got Seth Roberts and Seth Roberts and Willie Snead ahead of him. So if Marquise Brown is out, I would consider Boykin, but if he's in, I'm not going there.
That is a fair point. I'm just looking at your grades here. It looks like we have Corey Davis ranked pretty well.
Yeah, that's an option because he's been out there just as much as last year. He's been terrible, and I like that.
Golden Tate as well.
Wait, he just played though.
No, he had a great game.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's not looking too good down here. Now, in a situation like this, would you like, if you don't have a player that you like too much at $13, would you like say pop out Kelsey, put in Kittle, try to find another part of that stack, or are you just going with whoever fits?
I think of the options, I like Deontay Johnson. I think that isn't like a horrible option, and that would probably be the way I lean in this instance. Well, how do you feel?
Yeah, sounds good. 8 targets last game. Looks like he's taking more and more of a role. We have seen less of James Washington and less of Dante Moncrief as the season's gone on. Juju's kind of a mystery right now, so why not? $12, super cheap. No one's going to own him.
Sounds good to me, man. Well, we're all going to own him, so I'm not that excited about my chances of winning first outright, but I don't mind splitting it.
I like it. I'm just going to quietly pop in my boy Byron Pringle after Sammy Watkins is rolled out. That won't be
Nice,
good.
man.
Awesome. All right. Any final thoughts for the viewers out there? Any final pieces of advice for the Yahoo players that you're seeing this week?
Yeah, I mean, Yahoo continues to be one of the best places to play DFS because I honestly believe your ROI on every entry will be much higher on Yahoo compared to DraftKings and FanDuel. They don't make it as easy for high volume players, and those are the guys that kind of like take a lot of the money out of the economy. So playing on these baller, you got a lot of guys in their season long leagues that join the Yahoo Cup, and if you're watching this show, that means you're probably putting in a lot more research than your average competitor on Yahoo, and you'll have a great chance to win.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. We got, my God, man, we're a third of the way through the NFL season. It's crazy that it's gone this far. So week 6 coming up. As always, Alex and I will be back next week to break down the week 7 slate. We have loads of content coming up for you. NFL Strategy Show every day at 11 Eastern. On the contrary, tell us quickly, who's your on the contrary guest tomorrow, Alex?
So our guest is Steve Buzzard, the Colts. He won $1 million last year playing daily fantasy in one tournament, and he's a great football mind. He has been working with the football guys for years, so I'm really excited to talk with him about some week 6.
Awesome. I really like On the Contrary this year. What we've done is we've alternated up some fantasy football minds, some football minds, and some DFS minds, and throw them in there with you and Spags and suss out and give the ultimate information you need to wrap up build your lineups for the week ahead. So that is Saturday. Refresh my memory. 1 o'clock Eastern, correct? 2 o'clock Eastern.
2 o'clock Eastern. And did I mess this up? It's week 7, isn't it?
It's week 7 right now.
Which one is it? The weeks all blend together for me.
It is week 6.
Week 6. Okay.
You scared me there for me. Okay.
All right.
Guys, thanks
So
so
you
much
guys
for
are watching the right show.
We just broke down the entire wrong slate. We'll see you next week.